Why does letter X have a dirty connotation, and how did XXX ended up as hardcore pornography? Explicit, exposure, exhibition, excitement, exotic, X this, X that. Let's not only go back 50 years, let's jump back to 3,000 years ago for the sake of research purposes. For real this time. The ancient Greeks borrowed X from the Phoenicians and named it Chi. It was then the letter Samek, which could have been fish. Nothing to do with fishy smells. It only represented the consonant S, like S. The Greeks took that letter to signify this digraph, which is for the sound X. The Etruscans and the Latins adopted this convention. The Romans adopted the X sound from the Chalcedonian alphabet, a non-Lonic Greek alphabet, then borrowed the Chi symbol, utilizing it as well for the Roman numeral X, or 10. Chi is the first letter of Christos, meaning anointed. This is where Christ came from. The second letter is Rho. This is where R came from. Chi and Rho became its abbreviation, later combined into the Christogram to symbolize Jesus Christ. Since the 16th century, it was abbreviated further. X as Christ, as in Christmas. X also resembles a cross, the chief Christian symbol. X has such diverse meanings it could refer to both Christ and hardcore porn. Medieval Christians who were not literate used the symbol to emboss documents. Jump to the modern era, we now use X for checkboxes commonly for voting politicians. It's possible that X is just distinctive and easy to write. Important documents were also sometimes signed with X, then sealed with a kiss. X as kiss as in XOXO turned into a custom. The 1763 letter from naturalist Gilbert White goes, "I am with many an XXX and many a Paternoster and Ave Maria." Gilbert White. Winston Churchill wrote in 1894 to his mother, "Please excuse bad writing as I am in an awful hurry. Many kisses, XXX, Winston S. Churchill." Churchill's X's were definitely kisses, but White's X's could have signified blessings. Must be the blurred lines between love for God and love for family or spouse. X also has connections with life, the symbol Red Cross, medications, Lovenox, Zyprexa, Somonex, Xarelto, Xylocaine, Xanax, as if one X wasn't enough. We also cross our fingers into the letter X's, wishing for good luck. While X could signify the light as in spirituality, love, luck, and life, it could also signify the dark as in vice, misfortune, death, and the unknown. In his 1637 book Geometry, Descartes introduced the convention of having the symbols X, Y, and Z represent unknown quantities corresponding to the symbols A, B, and C for known quantities. He simply used the last letters of the alphabet. X probably earned the most fame simply because it was the first letter among X, Y, and Z. The Arabs used say or thing to symbolize the unknown quantity. Its medieval transliteration was Zay, but there's no evidence that X was derived from there. Whether it was from the Europeans or Arabs, X seems to have an uncanny bond with the unknown. We have the X-ray from William Röntgen, who used the term since he didn't fully understand what he discovered then. X-factor, used since the 1930s, an undefinable quality. Brand X, an unknown placeholder. SpaceX, a company on a mission to discover the unknown regions of space, or to give a sense of wonder. X-Files, Xbox, X on a treasure map. Generation X was thought to have the same connotation, but this was simply because it's the 10th generation of Americans since 1776. Then there's the connotation of danger and death, the unknown beyond the afterlife. X marks the scene of a crime in a plan or photograph, in the crosshairs of a gun's scope. The X is on a military aircraft like X-1 or X-15. X-Sports or Extreme Sports, the X on the eyes of a dead cartoon character, the X formation of the bones on the skull and crossbones emblem that originate from late Middle Ages, now generally symbolizing hazardous chemicals. Symbol of life and death in Kabbalism, an occult symbol for Satan, the black arts and witchcraft. Witches cross their fingers when channeling a spell. Camp X or Intrepid Park, the Canadian training grounds for covert agents. Just as crossing our fingers signifies wishing for good luck, it could also signify voiding a promise when we place it behind our backs. Then there's being crossed. X also signifies an error, closing a tab on our computer, double-crossed as in deceived, cross my heart and hope to die. Then we have the vices, we're getting close to porn. X will also indicate an alcohol's potency. The more X, the stronger the beer. Various beers use the symbol since the 19th century. Cartoons borrow the trope. XX is also abbreviation per powdered sugar. 1 X is grainy, 2 is refined. Hey sugar, we know that alcohol usually leads to sex. Now the X rating was originally for films that had content unsuitable for minors. Not necessarily pornographic, but the film's themes were definitely not for minors, but it was not trademarked. Pornographers scooped the phrase up beginning around the 1970s. The more X, the more hardcore, just like those beers. Run-of-the-mill X-rated hardcore porn had no difference with Academy Award-winning X-rated films like Midnight Cowboy or Clockwork Orange. Now porn owned the term. Some non-pornographic films ended up getting released unrated but with an adult content warning. Theaters didn't want to have that rating plastered on the films they're booking. These films eventually had the NC-17 rating in 1990. Even when XXX has become synonymous with adult content, it still had its connotations toward the unknown, content that is censored. But is XXX still widely used around porn today? It's all out now. Fuck! Cock! Pussy! Ass! Nobody's hiding around the unknown and forbidden nature of the letter X. But X seems to be trickling down to language. Now we have asterisk, a doubling of the letter X. Now we have an idea why the X has a dirty connotation. It was the unknown and forbidden, a flimsy etymology, but there's some validity to it. But why did it end up symbolizing these contrasting ideas? There's no clear answer. Perhaps it comes to symbolize the opposite ends of good and evil, the continuum of life and death, the dichotomy of vice and virtue.